All right, what's up, Internet, Facebook? We're here with installment number 4 of what is going to be an 8-part candidate series, pending any announcements today, because today is the deadline to announce as candidate. So there is still some time for somebody to, we should close that door too, file for City Commission. Today I'm sitting with Hagen Brody. He is a former Sarasota prosecutor who lived in Sarasota for how long have you been down here?
Well, my family moved here when I was in elementary school, so I grew up here, went to elementary school, middle school, and high school here.
Great.
Moved back in 2011 after law school.
Okay. He's a Bachelor of Arts from the University of California, Santa Barbara, and received his law degree from the University of Miami. After joining the state attorney's office, quickly moved up the ranks, eventually rising to the felony division where you would prosecute serious felonies with a focus on taking drug dealers off the streets here in Sarasota. He currently sits on the board of directors for the Sarasota County Bar Association, and in his own words, is ready to make a difference on the City Commission. Yep. So without further ado, Facebook, Internet, please help me in welcoming Hagen Brody to the Sarasota Underground Studios. Welcome.
Nice, thank you.
How are you?
Thanks for having me. Good.
Yeah. We'll start. We've started these with all the candidates. Why do this? Why step into this race? Why throw your hat in the ring?
Well, anybody that gets into public service should have, in my opinion, a desire to give back to the community that they serve. And for me, that's no different. I moved back here in 2011 after law school specifically to do that, to give back to this community.
Sorry, we got a cut.
Sure.
What?
We got a cut.
Is the thing still live?
Still live on Facebook.
Yeah, we're still live on Facebook, so let's not cut. Sorry.
Sorry.
We're gonna just.
Should we take it from the top?
We'll just have a little gap there. Just.
Okay, so just wherever you're at. So we're recording good now?
Yeah.
All right. Can we get, while we're on pause, bear with us, Facebook. Seriously, this is what you're seeing right now is the beginning of a media company being built right before your eyes, and sometimes this is what happens, right? We got live feeds. This is all brand new technology. The reason we're recording this in studio with cameras is so we can put these out in high def next week, just because we know things happen with live internet, etc. But if you're watching this, feel free to share it with a friend. Make sure they're sharing it in the Slack channel here at Clear Idea and in Sarasota Underground. Anyway, back to our regularly scheduled program.
All right.
Sorry, continue. You're telling us about why you were doing this and getting involved. You've been fairly active in the community here for a while. You're one of the youngest candidates who's running for City Commission. Let's spend some time talking about that, because I think that's probably one of the biggest issues here in Sarasota.
Sure.
Is this idea that we are not plugged in. Our age demographic does not have much of a say in what goes on. And so do you have a real chance as a young candidate? Is this something that Sarasota is ready for? I don't know the statistics on how young anybody's ever been on the City Commission. That would be something good to look up. But.
Yeah. We've had young commissioners before. I don't think that's anything too special. Kelly Kirshner was a pretty young commissioner and mayor in Sarasota. And I'm 34 years old. I'm an attorney. I feel like I have a pretty good grasp on what people want of all ages, which is really what it's about. Representing everybody in the community, not just young people, not just any specific demographic, but for me, that's what a community is about. A lot of diversity and different people coming together, and I'm looking forward to making a difference, which is my primary goal.
Right. What qualifies you specifically to be a city commissioner? Like, what gives you the confidence to say, I can go do this and know that you're going to be effective in that?
Well, I've been effective in just about every organization that I've been a part of. I go into any project or any organization, any job with the determination to leave it better than it was when I found it. City Commission is no different. We have some really serious problems in the city that my experience as a prosecutor, my knowledge of the community, and my roots here, I think uniquely qualify me to address.
Yeah. Can you give me some specifics?
On the issues?
Yeah, on just the specific. I mean, I know you have experience in the legal process,
Right.
but how does that translate into serving on the city commission, connecting the neighborhoods, kind of bringing some of those players together to actually make progress in the city?
Right, well, all right. First of all, as a prosecutor, you're on the ground floor, you're in the trenches, you're working with law enforcement, you're working with the ordinances that are passed by the city commission, and you get a real sense for which ones are working, which ones aren't. You get a real sense for problems in the community, problems with certain areas that need to be addressed, and you build a lot of relationships while you're doing it. For me, it's my relationships that I believe will set me apart in this race. When I moved back here in 2011, I made it a point to strengthen and build as many relationships with community partners as I possibly could. My primary issue that I want to focus on for the city is solving the homeless issue that we have here. As a prosecutor, like I said, you're on the ground floor, you're dealing with it every single day. You see the complexity of it, and you really get a sense for how tough of an issue it is. And I think we're to a point right now where everybody has thrown up their hands, and people aren't discussing it in meaningful ways that are going to get anything done. And just going on that issue, let me first say that the vast majority of the homeless folks that we have in Sarasota County are truly down and out. Minor mental health issues, minor substance abuse issues, but looking to get back on track. It's people that that fall on tough times, lose their job, living in their car, and there are services out there that help them. There's good organizations that are doing good work for people like that. Then we have a couple other subsets. We have a group that has serious mental health issues that need to be addressed. And as a prosecutor, I worked tirelessly in certain cases to help get people the help they needed so that they could get off the street and live somewhat of a normal life. We have people that have severe substance abuse issues. And again, when I was a prosecutor and also just a member of the community, I would help try to find those folks the right organization or the right person or for them that would help them with their issue. And then we have to be honest with ourselves. There is a harassing criminal element that we have to address as well. And it's that element.
So how do we address, right? Because everyone knows that. Everyone sees them out on the street. Everyone, saying some of these things is all and well, and we all know that. How do you, from the city commission, make an impact on that?
Well, you have a huge impact. I mean, you have a platform, okay? To me, a commissioner it should be more than a commissioner. It should be an ambassador for the city. You have the ability to bring people together. You have the ability to make calls and leverage the relationships you already have to promote change. So, just to finish my thought there, with this group we have to address because they are making everybody else's job much harder. There's dealers within that community that make it harder to get some of the other people that are trying to get help clean and sober. There's people that are harassing people on Main Street and really having those businesses are struggling.
To not just that's all. There's dealers for people who aren't homeless too, and there's lots of issues that face none of those things are fixable. I think from City Hall, are they? And if so, what specifically would we do for that? Like, what would the city commission what would be your first action to do that?
All right. So I think it is. I think you can, from City Hall, make a really big difference in this. And I'll tell you from my experience from working in this area and dealing with these folks and dealing with the organizations involved, this is the biggest problem we have. We have a lot of great organizations and nonprofits in Sarasota. We have over 3,000 nonprofits. And a handful of them are doing really good work and spending a lot of money and a lot of man hours, and they have great volunteers that are getting people the help they need. whether it's mental health, substance abuse, finding jobs, finding homes. We also have great agencies here. The Sarasota Police Department is doing a great job with their HOT team addressing some of the homeless issues in Sarasota. The Sheriff's Department has their own program in the jail. They have a recovery pod that is helping people get clean and sober when they get into trouble. And we also have the court system, the county court system, which is integral, imperative to have them involved in this. And they have their programs. We have mental health court, we have drug court, we have DUI court. What we don't have is broad communication between these parties. We have certain partnerships that are happening within this field, but what we don't have is a overarching plan, not a one-size-fits-all plan, but an overarching plan where the organizations on the private side, the nonprofits, are communicating efficiently with the agencies and the government organizations and communicating efficiently with the courts. And so what we need and what I would like to do as a commissioner is be that person to bring people together, put a plan in place, an umbrella plan, where everybody is not trying to do everything for each person, but everybody has a role in a larger plan, in a larger scheme, where they can do what they do best, and they can focus on what they do best. That will make a huge difference, and it's important to note that because right now, I don't feel, from my experience, that we are firing on all 6 cylinders. I feel like we have a lot of assets in the community that we're not utilizing, and only until we do that, and we have everything in the community firing on 6 cylinders, can we then talk about what else we need or what gaps there are.
So let's lighten things up just a hair, because we're about to cut off. The first 15 minutes will be on Facebook, like we said at the beginning of this. The rest of the interviews will be available next week on our YouTube and website. 2 questions real quick. What's your favorite part about living in Sarasota? What keeps you here? What makes you want to stay here as a young professional?
I mean, I love the weather. I love being outside. I think that, my vision for Sarasota is, very outdoor friendly. A lot of great parks. I think we need way more bike paths within downtown and connecting the surrounding neighborhoods. I'd like to see a more pedestrian-friendly downtown.
So,
and I love playing sports. I play.
so for you, it's a lot about the outside and making it
Yep.
a great place to be from an active standpoint. You've been in Sarasota for a long time now. You went to middle and high school here.
Right.
What's been the biggest change in your mind over the last decade or so in Sarasota?
I'll give you 2 that I've noticed from when I was growing up. One is an interesting discussion, I think very pertinent to this race, and one I think is something that we should all think about and keep in mind. First is obviously the change in the transition the city is going through. And not just the city, but the county. The county has sprawled out into north, south, and east. And the city is changing. The downtown is changing, and we're seeing a lot of building and construction.
So wrap that up for me. What the one biggest thing that's changed, because we're going to wrap this segment in 30 seconds here. So in less than a minute, what's the one thing is the biggest change? Because of course the city's growing, county's growing, etc. But the one thing.
Well, I think it's the challenges we face, honestly. When I was growing up, the homeless issue was not at the forefront. That to me is imperative to saving Main Street. Main Street, businesses down, people are going elsewhere, businesses are going elsewhere, and I think that is one of the biggest problems that we've seen come about and really come to the forefront in the last 15, 20 years.
Yeah, so that downtown corridor, kind of
Yeah.
making sure that it's still friendly for the
Right.
local shops and merchants and things like that. So, all right, well that's a little sneak peek with Hagen Brody. We're going to cut this Facebook live stream right now. If you guys enjoyed that, like we said at the beginning, these longer full interviews will be available on our YouTube page as well as the website, SarasotaUnderground.com. You can learn more about our upcoming town hall, where we will have all of the candidates discussing a lot of these issues in more detail. And we'll also be releasing short montages so you can have a kind of a blended perspective of the different candidates on all the different issues. So
Sure.
we'll continue the conversation, and catch you guys next time. See you, actually this afternoon, we got Patrick Gannon at 1:30, so.
Nice.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. We're doing great, and now sorry for trying to move that along, those first 15 minutes are trying to get through as much as possible, and now we'll, continue to dive into
Sure.
some of that stuff. So let's keep going on that, right, because I want to talk about that downtown corridor.
Okay.
I want to talk specifically about those merchants, the type of businesses. Are we on the verge, because the city commission I don't want to put it on the city commission. Let's just say we've lost some events downtown over the last couple years that signal a trend in the wrong direction for a lot of people in the type of atmosphere that we're trying to create in that downtown corridor. What say you to that? I mean, because to me, a downtown vibrant corridor is kind of important to a growing city.
Right.
And it's important to a lot of people, right? Not just specifically younger demographics. So how do you feel about that stuff? What do you see as a way to kind of fix and tackle some of what's going on downtown?
Well, look, I understand the concerns that people have when those events, disrupt their daily life. And I think we have to be mindful of that, but, a lot of those are fun events. I enjoyed going to those, the Chalk Festival and even Thunder by the Bay. And I think, New Year's downtown, some of those things, there's such big pulls for the businesses that, the businesses that I talk to on Main Street, they need those weekends to make it through the tough summers here. I mean, it's no secret that the restaurant industry, the retail industry suffers in the summer here because of tourism. And those big weekends for them, I think, are so critical for them to be able to, financially bridge some of those gaps. For me personally, one of the main reasons I'm doing this is for Main Street. I think Main Street is such a gem, such a jewel for us. I've traveled quite a bit, and I've seen communities, actually Lakewood Ranch is a good example, build a Main Street out of the ground overnight, okay? And they mimic what we already have. They have little street lights, they call it Main Street, and it's completely artificial, and it's replicating something great that we should really be supportive of and really try to preserve. So, when we talk about development, we talk about visions for the city, mine is Main Street centric. It's preserving what we have and making sure that Main Street remains the epicenter of the city.
Let's talk a little bit about, you mentioned in the earlier segment about wanting to try to unify some of the communications and getting people on the same page.
Right.
And so one of the issues that's been brought up in these interviews is that disconnect between the city government and the county government in Sarasota. And so from your perspective as a potential city commissioner, how do you start opening up some of those channels and create a little bit more collaborative environment, even if it's just a start in that direction?
I mean, I know that's been a big problem for the city and the county. We are the county's city. We are the county's downtown for those folks. So the people that live in the county, they don't want to see this squabbling. The people who live in the city don't want to see this squabbling because we have mutual interests. I've always been good at bridging connections and bringing people together. It's one of the things that I pride myself on. It's one of the things that I feel like separates me from the crowd because I have the relationships with a lot of these folks to bring them to the table, to get them sat down and get some answers. And it's a nuanced thing. There's no rule book on how to bring people together. It's just about your personality and how you approach some of these problems and these issues.
Speaking of bringing people together and connecting, how do we, a couple statistics for instance, more people over the age of 90 than under the age of 30 as a percentage of their voter demographic showed up in the last city election.
Sure.
30-some hundred registered voters under the age of 30, 135 or 36 showed up to vote. How do we reach them? How do we reach us, our age demographic, and say, this is your city too?
Right.
And 500 votes could change everything.
Right.
And so here we are sitting about all the stuff we wish we had in this city, and the solution is just like right here. All we have to do is come and grab it.
Yeah.
How do we do that? How do we get them to, because this isn't fun stuff, right? Nobody's sitting here, this isn't like the hottest Netflix special, right? People could be sitting at home watching something way more entertaining.
Right.
So how do we get them involved in this? How do we make them want to see and hear and be involved in this stuff?
It's their community, it's their city. They grew up here. For me, my desire to get involved stems out of my experience here, when I was in high school, a youngster. This town really afforded me opportunities that I truly don't think would have happened anywhere else. I would have never been able to do the things that I've done if it weren't for Sarasota. So, I think young people need to kind of reflect on that and just remember that there's people following them that want to have those same experiences.
Yeah.
And that's really what's driving me, is making sure that Sarasota is the same great place to live, work, and grow up.
What's our biggest hurdle? What's, as a community, like as a whole, not any one neighborhood or any one specific, like, obviously it might be homelessness or whatever you think, but what is the biggest issue as a whole that's stopping us from taking that next step as a city? That
Leadership. It's leadership. We need somebody to promote a vision for the city that everybody can get behind. We have a lot of kind of multi-directional conversations going on. And, if we have some substantial leadership on the city commission, I think that direction would start to narrow and we would start to see more progress in a lot of the issues that we're facing.
So give me a little bit of, I don't want to get into the granularity of like the specific issues, but your vision then for Sarasota, because I think this is important for lots of people to see and hear.
Sure.
Share for me at a high level in 5-10 years, what does that look like? What is your vision?
Look, Sarasota should be a place, somewhere where everybody has a place. I mean, we're so diverse, we have so much to offer. There should be somewhere for everyone. And like I said, my vision for Sarasota revolves around our downtown, our Main Street, and preserving that. I want to see a Main Street that is vibrant, family-friendly, that everybody can enjoy, everybody can access, and the surrounding neighborhoods enjoy it on a regular basis. And I'm sorry, but I go back to the homeless issue. To me, that's step one in that equation.
So, and maybe that's the answer to this next question that we've asked all the candidates. If you had a magic wand, if you just fix one thing about Sarasota, it would be...
Well, I mean, honestly, I don't think we need a magic wand to fix the homeless issue. And if I'm going to get one chance to use a magic wand, it's not going to be that.
Okay.
Because I actually think that we can make a difference with real solutions and real leadership.
So then you have a magic wand. What do you do with it?
I wish I were more upbeat, which is what I think you're looking for. But I'll tell you, the other thing that I was going to mention about the biggest difference and the biggest change and the biggest thing I wish I could change or have impacted more from 20 years ago when I was, living here as a young man and to now is the drug issue and epidemic. If I had a magic wand, I would, try to alleviate people's drug addiction and our really that issue, the heroin, the fentanyl. I've seen too many, I'm old enough now to have seen too many friends lose their way, if not worse, because of that, and I would change that.
Yeah. Yeah, that seems to be a tremendous issue both here and in Manatee County, and really just across the country.
Right.
Man, I sucked my energy out of here thinking about that. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Where's your support coming from in this election, right? How are you going to get elected?
I have a pretty broad base of support, which I'm very proud of. I've been in this community years now as an adult, working in nonprofits and volunteering. I volunteer for Booker High School. I coach their mock trial team. I've been involved in Brandy's Wish and the substance abuse issues, Spark and the domestic violence issues that we're facing as a prosecutor. I've been involved from day one as much as I possibly could be. So my support is coming from all different walks of life, all different organizations in the community, and that's what I hope to represent is a community. It's not a single person, it's not a single faction, it's a community that is trying to work cohesively towards solving some of our problems.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about some of the, I guess, specific areas, and not so specific. Like, the city's big and kind of spread out weird, right? The way it's set up. And a lot of people think, oh, it's a downtown corridor, but then they forget about the North Trail, and then they forget about that some of it is out on Longboat, and that even North Siesta Key is part of the city, and Midtown, and all that stuff. And so it seems like that's part of the issue we run into is these different silos, and everyone's in their little neighborhood and they want to protect that thing.
Mm-hmm.
And this maybe goes back to the bigger vision, right, of having a strategic vision for the whole thing. But how do we start approaching some of that? How do we start unifying an effort that makes sense for the North Trail, but also makes sense for Midtown, that also makes sense for some of these different fractured areas?
Well, look, the great thing about our town is the diversity and the kind of different personalities that these areas are taking on. And we don't want to lose that. We don't want to homogenize Sarasota where you go down to Midtown and it feels the same as going to Main Street, or you go out to St. Armand's and it's the same as Siesta, or somewhere else. I think it's important that we have, like I said, a kind of a central downtown urban corridor or urban area around Main Street. And then as you kind of go out, if you can envision kind of concentric circles outside of that, you go into the different neighborhoods, the different communities, all with their own personalities. And I think it's important to nurture that, I really do. But create connectivity.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about growth, because it seems to be a big topic right now. Sarasota is growing. It's one of the 11 fastest metro area in the United States by sheer population growth, and that includes Manatee, Sarasota as a whole metro area. Lots of people don't like the big buildings downtown. Some people like them. That's a big topic of interest. Transportation, and it seems like in general, again, going back to the vision, there's a lack of planning in how we're handling the growth and all that traffic. What say you on some of the growth downtown? Are you for more growth? Are you anti-growth? Would you prefer it slow down? Thoughts?
It's a balance, I'm for responsible growth, responsible development. I think there's a very big difference too between development and redevelopment. Redevelopment is a good thing. Taking a dilapidated property that may be a problem in the neighborhood and allowing someone to turn into something great that's usable and functional for the people around it, that brings the property values up. And I think that's a really kind of a critical point that gets missed, and we try to lump in a lot of different conversations and pigeonhole people into either pro-development or anti-development. You got to be one or the other. A city is too complex for that. We have to have responsible development, in my opinion, and it should take into account the idea of supporting a core or a Main Street area. But I don't want to see downtown sprawl out and really decentralize the focus on Main Street. That's not to say that some of the neighborhoods around downtown can't take on their own personality and be turned into something great for people to live. Like I said, there should be something for everyone in Sarasota. I mean, it's no secret that we have an affordable housing issue here. If we only have multi-million-dollar condominiums, no one can afford to live here. And I'm not just talking about young professionals. I'm talking about single moms. I'm talking about legal assistants. I'm talking about a lot, if not the vast majority of people that I come across that have to move to Northport or Parrish to work in the city. And, you know, like I said, there should be something for everyone here. There should be a place to live for everyone. And that's a critical component.
What do you do to help that? Because affordable housing is an issue we haven't talked a whole lot about, but it is one of the top issues in the area, and it's something that affects everyone. You know, and the young professionals get a lot of support because they've got an organization behind them to be advocates for that. But then there's a lot of people, like you're saying, that don't. The healthcare, we have some statistics as we're preparing for this town hall. The top 10 growing job sectors in Sarasota, and most of them don't crack that $30,000 a year threshold that it takes to rent even a one-bedroom apartment in this town without being cost burdened, which means paying more than 30% of your income for housing. So what do you do to address that? How do we fix some of those issues in your perspective?
So 2 things I want to mention. One kind of goes back to the idea of a commissioner being more than a commissioner, but being an ambassador for the city. I think a commissioner should get up out of their chair, get out of the chamber, and promote the city. Make calls, try to bring better companies and bigger, better paying jobs to the area. I think the tech sector is an area that we can really exploit. We have great schools. We're producing a lot of talent in the design and tech area. And, you know, I was talking to a business owner of a tech company here a couple weeks ago. And he coined the phrase, this is New Valley. New Valley. You know, bringing some of these smaller startups to this area that can pay the types of salaries that will support the lifestyle that we all, you know, see in Sarasota. That's one thing, bringing jobs here. The other thing is you know, kind of goes back to something for everyone. You know, we have to have places that are affordable for people to live, that work hard, that work full time, and that want to live somewhat close to where they work. Driving from Northport to Sarasota, I think, is insane. It's 45 minutes. You know, the cost of living gas is almost prohibitive, but it's still cheaper for a lot of people to live down there. We have to change. We have to do something about that.
So we say, and it's really easy to say.
I want to mention one other thing, if I could. This goes back to the homelessness issue too. I had a great conversation with Ethan Frizzell over at the Salvation Army not too long ago. You know, in his program, he's got great things going on over there. He can get people sober. He can get people jobs. But his biggest obstacle is finding them a place to live once they're on their feet.
Yeah. Which goes back to what I was going to say, which is it's easy to say we need affordable housing, and I think they've even tried to do some of that. I mean, we're seeing a glut of apartments come on the market, but none of them are quote-unquote affordable. You know, we're talking about starting in the $1,200, $1,300, $1,400 price range, and then go up all the way into the mid-2000s just for a 1 or 2 bedroom apartment.
Right.
And so, how do we do that? Because we haven't even kept the developers who have gotten density allotments or bonuses for building density, et cetera, have not made those units affordable, and they have not built them to those standards. And so, you know, here we are in a situation that might be compounded, and we may end up with a bunch of just empty units scattered all through Rosemary that are uninhabited.
Well, I think the market will take care of that. You know, I think that I don't think we're going to end up with a bunch of units that are just uninhabited for years on end.
Sure.
The free market.
Yeah, and it's growing, so I don't expect that we're going to have just a bunch of empty apartments.
But I think the market will take care of that. You know, I think we have to be cognizant and we have to be careful and we have to kind of craft a code that encourages these types of projects. But, you know, a commissioner is not a project manager. They're not.
So how do you say then the market will take care of it, and then the city commission needs to handle affordable housing? Like, how do those coincide? Like, help.
Say that again.
Help. The market will take care of it, right?
I'm talking about
those apartments, and I get that, right? But that's also an answer to a lot of things because the market plays into the affordability, the cost of land, you know, proximity to water, availability. There's all sorts of things, right? And so the market does play a big role in that. So help me figure out how does an answer of the market will take care of that, and then the city should step in to help that. Consolidate those two for me. Like, how do you bridge those two?
Yeah, so I come from a legal background where, you know, there's something called judicial restraint in the court system. where judges, even though they may be able to do something, or they doesn't necessarily mean they should. And I think that we should apply that same restraint a lot into the commission. The commission's job is to listen to the people, to try to craft policy that reflects the people's wishes and desires. But once you craft that, there is a part to, the private sector has a part to play, and we have to respect that. And so I think that's the balance. I think crafting a code, crafting ordinances that reflect the public opinion, but having the restraint not to get too involved at the level to where you're driving new businesses and mom and pops away that just feel like there's just too much red tape for them.
Sure. Just for the sake of time here, I think we're about to wrap up. I've been ending
Sure.
these with a couple specific questions, but before I get into those, is there anything that we haven't talked about that you would feel like you want to address or that you'd like to say just while we're here? You got the cameras. I mean, is there anything you feel we haven't talked about?
Let me think, okay. So there's a couple things that I think that we can also do, that little kind of pet projects, if you will. And this kind of goes along with supporting small businesses here. I would like to see an overhaul or streamline of our permitting system, making it easier and more efficient for people to navigate that. I think that we do a terrible job giving guidance or providing the roadmap to opening a restaurant or opening a new business. I think there's a lot that we can incorporate with technology to make that happen. And like I said, for people that own homes here, for people that want to start small businesses, I think it's incumbent on us to make it as efficient as possible. So that's one thing. And the other thing is, I guess I would say, and this goes back to being an ambassador, as well as a commissioner, we have to talk to people. We have to talk to our other elected officials. We have to have better communication, not just to, get some of, make headway on some of the problems that we've talked about already, but, if we're ever going to be able to bring tax dollars back from Tallahassee or back from Washington in the form of grants, we have to talk to our elected officials. I want to see Bayfront 2020 happen. I want to see the Legacy Trail completed. But those are things that we need to bring some of our tax dollars back from Tallahassee to this area to finance, because they're very expensive. And if we don't talk to these people, if we don't have communication between our city commission and our state and federal representatives, then that's just not going to happen. So those are two things that I think are important to keep in mind.
Yeah. What's one question you'd like to know from the other candidates? Something that you might want me to add to my repertoire here, or something that just in passing over a beer at a bar you might want to ask the other candidates? I'm trying to keep this campaign about me. I really am. I admire anyone in public service, whether it's a public defender or a prosecutor or a city commissioner or anybody running, because this is not easy. And so I would, I don't want to be critical of others. I would just ask, the how. When you say you're going to, we're going to fix homelessness, how? Because it's something that I think people want to hear. We've been talking about it for years, 10, 15 years. We have these plans and everybody gets worked up into a frenzy and there's no implementation. So I think it's just how. And I think that's important to ask anyone, Yeah. And then, do you have any questions for us? Do you have any questions for our viewers? the Sarasota Underground audience or young people in general, because we're gonna lump that in, the majority of our audience is under 40.
Yeah,
We're prepared to evenly split between male and female, even though we
Good.
lean a little heavier to the female side. But do you have a question for them? Do you have a call to action for them? Anything you'd like to share with them specifically?
you know, just get involved. This was such a, for me, like again, you know, it was such a great place to grow up. It afforded me so many opportunities, and you know, just think about what this place has afforded you, and what you could help improve, and just get involved.
Yeah, we talked about some of those.
I would say, you know, what I would say is don't be afraid to get involved. You know, don't wait for an organization or you know, a position of some sort to get involved. You can be effective all by yourself, all on your own. You just start getting people together, you start making calls, start meeting people, and you can make a lot of change. You don't need to be a figurehead of some organization that has a title that does what you want to do to make a difference.
That's it. We talked about some of the voter demographics at the beginning of this video, and I think that's the most important thing. To me, that's a perfect place to wrap up, because that's exactly what we're doing. We're not sanctioned by the city. We're not sanctioned by a governmental body. We're just a couple people in a room with a couple cameras trying to shape the future of Sarasota, and we're inviting all of you to come join us and do that. So thank you so much for being
appreciate it.
here.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for being
Thanks
part
for
of that
having me.
process as
Yeah.
we're setting all that up, and that's a wrap.
awesome.
Cool.